What the Democrats have done is disgraceful and potentially illegal.
The Republican Party is undergoing one of the most sycophantic bootlicking power grabs that this group of mutts has ever endeavored. Texas yesterday approved a new electoral map, as the BBC puts it, that favors Republicans. It is a blatant effort to cheat that was initiated by the request of, the demand of Donald Trump. And what do Republicans in this age do? They obey the dear leader. And that's what they've done. And now they have the temerity and the gall and the lack of insight into themselves. Look within, Republicans. They can't do it. They are now whining that it looks like the Democrat effort in the state of California, one of the last roadblocks to it was shut down by their Supreme Court yesterday in the state of California. And this has Republicans beside themselves, screaming and wailing that they've changed the rules. And now the Democrats, in this case, Gavin Newsom and the Democrats in California, now the Democrats have decided to follow that same rule book, to follow those same new rules. They're freaking out. Here is that headline from the BBC. Texas approves new electoral map favoring Republicans. Texas legislators have approved new congressional maps designed to give Republicans an edge in next year's election for the U.S. House of Representatives. That seems anti-democratic, does it not? To set up a district that gives one party an advantage over the other? Leave it to Republicans to continue their long legacy of anti-democratic action, of oppressing the vote of black and brown people. Republicans in the Texas House of Representatives passing the new voting lines in an 88-52 vote, creating 5 new Republican-leaning seats. It followed a 2-week standoff in which Democrats fled the state to stall the vote and rally supporters against the redistricting plan. The maps will now go to the state Senate, where they are expected to be swiftly approved and then signed off by the Texas governor, who, by the way, we're going to hear from in just a little bit. He is the whining, what are they doing? This is illegal. I can't believe it. After having this take place in his state, after he bent the knee and kissed the asshole of Donald Trump. The move by Texas has sparked redistricting battles across the United States in states run by both major parties. President Donald Trump, who backed redrawing the maps to safeguard a Republican majority in the House, reacted with the words, "Big win" for the great state of Texas. Donald Trump did not back the redrawing. Donald Trump initiated the redrawing. He ordered the governor of a state, states' rights. He's the chief executive of his state. No, he's a Trump supplicant. That's what he is. And then Republicans hold a slim majority in the lower chamber of Congress. They're talking federally here, which Democrats aim to win back in the 2026 midterms. Now, this is absolutely what I'm getting ready to read to you. The effort in California would not have even been on the table had it not been for Donald Trump attempting to steal the election in 2026. And he's also signaling that he might start a war to cancel the election, to outright cancel the election in 2028. He said that just the other day. And if Democrats are going to win, we need to jettison the idea of when they go low, we go high. Because if we go high while they're low, we lose. What we need to do is, and I don't like the idiom of fight fire with fire, it's follow the rules. If these are the new rules, you follow the rules. I'm a rule follower. I like law and order. I like rules. If we all follow a set of rules, a stated level playing field, then it's fairness. Then it's equity. Then it's everything that we want it to be. But we can't follow a different set of rules than Republicans because we will lose. Guaranteed we will lose. We might even lose now. Hopefully, California gets it together. And this is what they have endeavored to do. This is from The Hill. California Supreme Court rejects GOP effort to halt Newsom's redistricting push. The California Supreme Court on Wednesday rejected a petition filed by state Republican legislators seeking to halt Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to redistrict California's congressional map. Quote, petitioners, this is from the Supreme Court of the state of California, petitioners have failed to meet their burden of establishing a basis for relief at this time under California Constitution. Article 9, Section 8 reads a brief order posted to the docket. Newsom has hit back at Republicans' redistricting efforts in Texas by pushing for a special election this November to get voters' approval on a more favorable House map for Democrats in California in time for the 2026 midterms. And this is what has Republicans apoplectic. They're beside themselves because finally we have a Democratic Party, a few people in the Democratic Party who are willing to stand up and say, no, we're not going to play this bullshit game anymore. Shockingly to me, it's Gavin Newsom. And look, I know every time I mention Gavin Newsom, I whine that he goes on podcast or he hosts on his own podcasts, Nazis like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk, even telling Charlie Kirk, oh, my son's a big fan of you. I don't like it. But hopefully this is the last time I'm going to say that. Who knows what mood I'm in another day. We need to get behind what is happening here, even with imperfect leaders, because even our most imperfect, and Gavin Newsom's not the most imperfect. There are many at the federal level who are more imperfect than him. But even with our most imperfect leaders, they are better than Donald Trump. They are better than the bootlicking, sycophantic lapdogs in the Republican Party who are dedicated to the prospect of white supremacy, who are dedicated to the prospect of anti-democracy, who are dedicated to the prospect of shitting all over the United States Constitution on a daily basis. So I'm here, someone who is not a giant fan of Gavin Newsom, supporting everything he's doing. Ideologically supporting it, but also from just a morale standpoint. I'm getting behind it because it's the right thing to do. And it's a rare glimmer of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel that there might be a win in sight. With lack of leadership in the House of Representatives under Hakeem Jeffries, with lack of leadership in the Senate with Chuck Schumer, I'm looking to beacons of hope and light like Gavin Newsom. And I hope you are too. The last paragraph of this Hill article, the ruling paves the way for California legislature to proceed with voting as soon as Thursday on a package that would set up the special election. Fantastic. And again, this has Republicans beside themselves with whining and crying and, oh, the gnashing of the teeth is just you would think it would be a cacophony, too much noise. But for me, it's melodic. It's a beautiful thing listening to this clip of Greg Abbott, the whining, just weakling, complaining that California is doing the exact same thing that he's doing.
And so what the Democrats have done is disgraceful and potentially illegal. I'll tell you this much. If California dares to try to squeeze out more Republicans, there are going to be lawsuits that will overturn that. What I can tell you in the state of Texas, the 5 Republican seats that we are adding, they are going to withstand legal challenges, and those will be Republican members added to the United States Congress.
So wait, the Democrats, what they're doing is disgraceful and potentially illegal, and we're going to see them in court. They're doing the same thing that you're doing in Texas. Governor Abbott. The hypocrisy is just, look, I don't know whether to admire it, like, wow, that's some boldness, or if it's just shameful. Can you admire shamefulness? Because maybe that's what we should all be doing, is just kind of marveling at what is taking place right now in the modern Republican Party. And I don't know if it's because they're trying to convince their fan base, because that's what it is in the Republican Party. It's a cult. It's a fan base. I don't know if they're trying to convince the fan base of this new reality they're trying to create, or if they know the fan base is so stupid that they'll believe anything. I think it's likely a combination of everything. Anyway, what do you think? Hey, I invite you to this important conversation. This is a topic we should all be following intently, because it's going to show whether or not we're going to have a win in the House of Representatives in 2026, which is where impeachment begins, which is where appropriations begin. It's ultimately the bully pulpit that we need. The Senate is great, fantastic, but the House holds a special power because some of the arcane rules in the Senate that gives the minority some a modicum of power that doesn't exist in the House of Representatives. When you have the majority, even a 1-seat majority, you can run roughshod over the minority. And that's what it's time to do. It's time to punish the Republican Party for their attempts to destroy the country, for their attempts to try to rewrite history, protecting their president who attempted to overthrow the United States government. I, for one, am here for that, and I hope you are too.
Just talk to a resident of this city, this beautiful, great American city. Don't they deserve, we talk about human rights. We hear these people outside screaming, free DC. Let's free DC from lawlessness.
You know what these dipshit Republicans are really, really good at? I mean, they're great at fascism. They're great at dispatching masked secret police, the Gestapo of Donald Trump, into the streets to intimidate and harass citizens. They're great at that. But the other thing they're really great at is telling on themselves, explaining to the world that not only are they just liars, not only are they just bent knee sycophants of Donald Trump, just tonguing his ball bag at every moment they can possibly find. Anytime they're in his presence, it's just, oh, the dear leader is so wonderful. But they love to tell on themselves too. They love to admit that the policies they're trying to put in place and the actions they've taken are completely unjustified. And that is what you're going to witness with J.D. Vance right now. Yesterday, J.D. Vance and the little goblin, Stephen Miller, who you'll hear from here, and Pete Hegseth, they marched into Union Station to just a resounding, loud, cacophonous boos and jeers. Even they walked into the Shake Shack in Union Station, I think is where they were, and they're giving their little soliloquies about how dangerous it is in DC and how the crime and how what they're doing is justified as they're surrounded by National Guard troops, being drowned out by a crowd just outside the door. And J.D. Vance gives up the game. They've been pounding the pavement out there on Fox News and Newsmax and OAN and giving interviews everywhere about just how deadly Washington, D.C. is. It's a war zone out there, y'all. It's not. It's crime like any other city. It is not dangerous to walk down the street. I feel safe during the day. I feel safe during the night. I especially feel safe where the National Guard has been stationed outside Union Station, which is like a block and a half away from the United States Capitol. Outside the National Mall, around the White House, that's where the National Guard is, where there is virtually zero crime at all. And J.D. Vance was being asked questions by a reporter in this moment, and he's explaining exactly why what we need to do is free DC. That's a movement right now here in town, which is free DC from the military occupation of Donald Trump. Free DC from the roving bands of masked Gestapo harassing and intimidating citizens. J.D. Vance wants to try to be cute and use that same phrase, free DC, but free it from the scourge of crime. But then he says something at the end that it doesn't just undercut the argument that they're trying to make. It lays bare the lie that they're telling. Watch this, wait for it, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
You talk to these guys. I talked to 3 police officers earlier. I've talked to the National Guard. They are so happy that they've been empowered to do their job, which is to make American streets safe for American citizens. And I think that empowerment is going to keep on going until we make America, and D.C. in particular, a safe place again.
What evidence do you have or that the DOJ has? Are you going to be releasing it?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to be releasing evidence of this?
Of what? That D.C. has a terrible crime problem? You just got to look around. Obviously, D.C. has a terrible crime problem. The Department of Justice statistics back it up. The FBI statistics back it up. Just talk to a resident of this city, this beautiful, great American city. Don't they deserve? I mean, we talk about human rights. We hear these people outside screaming, "Free D.C." Let's free D.C. from lawlessness. Let's free Washington, D.C. from one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. Let's free Washington, D.C. so that young families can walk around and feel safe and secure. That's what we're trying to free D.C. from. And as Stephen said, it's kind of bizarre that we have a bunch of old, primarily white people who are out there protesting the policies that keep people safe when they've never felt danger in their entire lives.
I mean, he served it up on a platter. The reason it's so beautiful is because it's so obvious that there's not outrageous war zone-like crime in the streets of DC. That he knows it so well that it's programmatic that he says the thing he says. People who are out there protesting the policies that keep people safe, but they've never felt danger in their entire lives. Wait a minute. I thought it was a fucking war zone, JD. I thought crime and murder and violence was just off the charts, and anywhere you walked in DC, you were at threat. Rick Scott's out there saying his staff can't go out to dinner. Doug Burgum's out there talking about how dangerous it is in DC. Yet, and then you also said it in this, but then you say the people out there protesting, the residents of DC, have never felt danger in their entire lives. How can they have never felt danger while living in what you describe as a shithole hellscape, a dystopian nightmare of murder and violence? How can that be, JD? The answer, sir, Mr. Vice President, you fucking moron. The reason is because it can't be true at the same time. If they've never felt danger, it's because they live in a safe city, a fundamentally safe city. He mentioned Stephen Miller in there, and Stephen Miller had something here's the other thing that conservatives do, is just lie, the biggest lie, the boldest lie, the most unbelievable lie that they can muster, and then double down and triple down and continue with that narrative. Because the more that you repeat the lie, the bigger the lie is, the more you have to repeat it, because the more you repeat it through repetition, people start to believe it. Unfortunately for these dipshits, you got people like me and others in my space who are going to push back against this lie and tell the truth, especially someone like me who lives here. I'm going to play this clip from Stephen Miller, and it's going to be followed by me on Saturday night. I intended on using this at some point, and then it didn't happen. I was going to do some videos over the weekend, but I was there on the lawn in front of Union Station. And if you know, you might not know, I'm not an elderly hippie. It'll make sense in a second. I'm not a 90-year-old hippie who's out there protesting, which is what Stephen Miller is trying to explain, that all of them, all these elderly white hippies, we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies. They're all, he says, all over 90 years old. And that is just a brazen, insane, clear lie from the little Gollum puke, Stephen Miller.
And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city, they have no families they're raising in this city, they have no one that they're sending to school in this city, they have no jobs in this city, they have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address another thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National Guard, and our federal law enforcement officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Stephen.
Wildly unbelievable. All of them are 90-year-olds. I'm just past 50. I just turned 51. Not a 90-year-old. Not a hippie. White. I am white, to be sure. That is clear. But everything else that Stephen Miller, the white supremacist ghoul, the mass deportation excitement doll, it's just ridiculous. So here's me out there Saturday night, this past Saturday night, talking about how the National Guard is out in force with all of the lights on the cop cars and the armored troop carriers behind me. Watch this and notice there's not a 90-year-old white hippie in sight.
So it's just after 8 p.m. on August 16th on a Saturday night in peaceful, prosperous, safe Washington, D.C. This is Union Station that has become a war zone. It has become occupied by the National Guard troops. Hundreds more National Guard troops from West Virginia have now been deployed to the city. And Donald Trump, in a time when crime is at a 30-year low, is turning the city into a frame of cherries and berries, lights on cop cars, masked secret police who are roaming the city, harassing and arresting, not giving their names, disappearing people, many citizens from the United States. This is where we are with the Trump administration. They're afraid. Let me show you what they're afraid of. Afraid of protesters, afraid of people who are organized and have gathered to push back against fascism. Accompanied by this unacceptable, un-American, anti-democratic, fascist dystopian nightmare in the streets of our nation's capital. We have a constitutional right to say fuck Trump. We have a constitutional right to protest. We have a constitutional right to assemble, to redress our government with our grievances. And that is too much for Donald Trump, too much for Republicans. And so they create this nightmare. What are we going to do about this, everybody?
Giving up the game, they are. Because the truth is so obvious to everyone that it's almost as though they know they're selling a lie. They know their audience knows they're selling a lie, but they need to give them the talking points. What do you think? I invite you to this very important conversation. Fighting fascism is up to all of us. All of us. When there's a lack of leadership in the Congress, there's a lack of action from leadership, it's going to fall on us. It's going to fall on governors. It's going to fall on brave, intrepid journalists to do their work. It's going to fall at in some modicum to the judiciary. But more importantly, it's on you. It's on me. Us, we together will get this done. Anyway, what do you think? You can comment below the video wherever you're watching it. You can call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you're still here, it means you really care and you enjoy the program. Please go follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily, and share that content natively there. I would appreciate it very much. Trying to get to 10,000 followers / likes. I don't even know the difference. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at social media. I'm not good at the internet. I'm so lucky that I have what I have here, that there has been a community that's built up around this show because of the fact that I'm such a dipshit about all the other elements that you need to be good at to be successful at this. But I'm lucky beyond reason and beyond what I am actually worth. So thank you very much for being here.
The Democrats are trying to find their footing, and it's quite embarrassing, actually. I mean, Gavin Newsom, I mean, have you seen what he's doing online?
We got a lot of problems in media, the mainstream media landscape, the corporate media landscape. You got a lot of people out there who are so interested, so invested in protecting their position of influence, of the money that they make, of keeping their show and not being molested by Donald Trump. It's weakness. Because when you have power and you have privilege, like Morning Joe, we're talking about Morning Joe, obviously, you know, from the headline or the title and the thumbnail. But when you have a position of power and influence and reach, like a guy like Morning Joe, vastly more well-known than me, vastly more reach than me, vastly more credibility than me, former member of the House of Representatives of these United States, a Republican congressman from Florida at the time. The guy has been in all of the different facets of power in the United States, and he's still, I mean, he understands the political nature of what is taking place right now in this country, and he's still bending the knee to Donald Trump, giving Donald Trump the morale boost that he so desperately needs right now, whining about Democrats and how they are countering Donald Trump as embarrassing. These Democrats, it's embarrassing what they're doing. It's embarrassing what Gavin Newsom is doing, getting under Donald Trump's skin and pressing him and imitating him on Twitter. There's efficacy in that. For one, it rallies the base. It creates excitement and energy that, oh man, holy shit, we can actually get something done here. We can have some wins. Finally, we can have some wins. That's too much for Morning Joe. Before, though, I want to start with the latest from the Gavin Newsom press office, which, by the way, look, I'm done bitching about Gavin Newsom. I've said enough about Gavin Newsom. Today will be hopefully the last time that I complain about him inviting Steve Bannon, the anti-democratic Nazi onto his podcast. Maybe hopefully today will be the last time that you hear me bitch and complain about him inviting Charlie Kirk, the anti-Semitic, anti-democracy, anti-constitution ghoul, onto his show to regale Charlie Kirk with what a big fan that Gavin Newsom's son is of him. Hopefully today will be the last day, because look, it's time to rally. We got to get behind those who are doing the good work. And Gavin Newsom, for all of his faults, is doing good work, up to and including hiring whatever staff members he has, writing these tweets and answering Republican nonsense by imitating Donald Trump. This is on Twitter. Wow, all caps, by the way, just beautiful. I'll read it like it would be a Trump tweet. Wow, Fox News can't stop talking about me, parenthetically, Gavin C. Newsom, America's favorite governor. Tonight, their entire primetime lineup was about me. Jesse Waters kept calling me daddy. Very weird, not interested, but thank you. Sean Hannity, very nice guy, nearly cried because I won't take his advice. Sorry, Sean. Then they dragged out the B team of dum-dums, Meatball Ron, Tommy, Toilet LAHREN, and Teddy. I haven't even read the whole thing. I'm going to be talking about Tomi LAHREN next, so in the next video, it's going to be a good one. Then they dragged out the B team of dum-dums, Meatball Ron, Tomi Toilet LAHREN, and Teddy Cancun Cruz. He even flew back special from Mexico. All whining about me, GCN. They had to play the music to shut Ted up about my beautiful hair. I get it. So jealous. Total disaster. MAGA hates me because they hate you. They hate that California is the fourth biggest economy in the world, which is true, by the way, bigger than most nations. They hate that crime is down, that we're number one in farming. I love the farmers, manufacturing, tourism, and tech, all while we give affordable health care, free school, meals, make America pregnant again, and paid baby leave for moms they should not return anyways. $20 minimum wage and so much more for the people. They hate that Democrats are winning. Fox News and MAGA have Newsom derangement syndrome. They should cry harder. Said, signed GCN. What's his middle name? Somebody write it in the comments so I don't have to look it up. GCN. Gavin, whatever his middle name is, Newsom. Now, this is smart. This is certainly, I laughed out loud. I was unexpecting the Tomi Toilet, Tomi LAHREN. But it also works. It works on multiple fronts. It works to fire up Republicans, to distract them from all of the damage that they're doing. It works certainly to fire up the base, to motivate people, to give people hope, to give people the energy to get out there in the streets and fight as well. All good, right? Not Morning Joe. He doesn't think so. Morning Joe thinks it's embarrassing what Gavin Newsom is doing here. Apparently, when a Democrat wins, when a Democrat is winning, when a Democrat shows other Democrats how to win, that's embarrassing to dipshit Morning Joe. But before we get to that, here is his colleague on the same day, Nicole Wallace, as my voice cracks here. On the same day, Nicole Wallace, she's going to give a little bit of a brief, a little bit of an explainer of what's going on. But obviously her tone is that it's a positive thing as she describes it. So they need to get their ducks in a row over there on MSNBC. Here's Nicole Wallace. Then we'll get to the embarrassing bootlicker, just a fraud of a human being, Morning Joe.
Gavin Newsom is fighting for a different kind of power in today's political landscape. Attention. Newsom's press office for the past week and a half has been flooding the zone by flooding social media posts with posts that mimic Donald Trump's style and doing what no Democrat has tried for the last 9 years in dealing with Donald Trump, beating Donald Trump at his own game. Since Donald Trump posted a fake Time magazine cover of himself as king, Gavin Newsom's team did the same thing. In one post, Gavin Newsom calls MAGA Republicans, quote, snowflakes in all caps. In another, he says this, quote, Donald is finished. He is no longer hot. First the hands, so tiny, and now me. Gavin C. Newsom have taken away his step. Many are saying he can't even do the big stairs on Air Force One anymore. Uses the little baby stairs now. Sad. Referring to a picture of Donald Trump alongside Vladimir Putin. He just wrote, vaxxed. And Newsom has already captured the visual style of the quintessential Trump post. There's the retweet of buff Gavin Newsom holding an American flag, or maybe the real winner, a portrait of himself surrounded by Kid Rock, Tucker Carlson, and Hulk Hogan. Newsom's social media campaign is clearly getting under the skin of many on the right.
I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish. And you're the governor of the biggest state in the union. What are you doing?
This is a sitting governor. You know, those are Congress people. And it feels like we're watching a summer camp skit. We're watching slam poetry. We're watching these attention seekers that are just so wrapped up in clickbait, and they are supposed to be governing.
Hypocrisy is dying a sad and tragic death right now. Say the anchors from the network that paid $800 million for their lies.
All that good. None of that bad. None of that sad. None of it. All of it's good. But not if you listen to Morning Joe. Joe Scarborough, the former Republican. Look, and I'm not shitting on somebody for being a former Republican. I grew up Republican Party. I was a Republican into my early adulthood. So people can change. People can see the errors of their ways and the writing on the wall, so to speak. They can see that Republican policy, all of the promises that have been made, all the claims that have been made about fiscal responsibility, about equality, the things that I was taught as a kid, everybody's made equal, the words that are enshrined in both the Declaration and many of the amendments of the Constitution, they rang true for me. And that's why I'm no longer a Republican. You know, the old saying that the Republican Party left me, I didn't leave the Republican Party. I don't think that's true. I left the Republican Party because they're a bunch of fucking liars. They're a bunch of hypocrites. They're out for the interest of the uber wealthy in this country and corporations, not for the working class, not for black and brown folks, not for the traditionally and historically oppressed and abused and murdered. They're not. And I went off on a little tangent there, but here is Coward Morning Joe talking about how embarrassing it is that Democrats are finally starting to fight.
And Willie, you can see the Democrats are trying to find their footing, and it's quite embarrassing, actually. I mean, Gavin Newsom, I mean, have you seen what he's doing online? And say, just take a deep breath. Yep. Don't try to turn the ship 180 degrees and one. They don't know what to do. I have a good idea. Instead of trying to school Donald Trump, talk into the camera about affordability. Talk about making groceries more affordable. Talk about what you're going to do for housing. Talk about what you're going to do for energy prices that continue to go up. We heard the congressman yesterday talk about energy prices skyrocketing in New Jersey. You know, don't try, as I've been saying, Donald Trump's not on the ballot in 26. He's not on the ballot in 28. Why try to drag Muhammad Ali in the ring when you got Chuck Wepner standing right in front of you? And Wepner's a bleeder. He's a bleeder. You want him. So why are you going, I'm going after Donald? No, you're not. You're not running against Donald Trump. Go after Tweedledee or Tweedledum. You know?
He's referring to Donald Trump as Muhammad Ali. That's how, those are the depths to which Joe Scarborough has sunk. That he's giving Donald Trump the psychic boost. That, sir, tears in my eyes, you're just like heavyweight champion and legendary boxer Muhammad Ali. How does this mutt still have a job? How does this, look, this is why I'm not invited on shows. This is why CNN's not having me on with Abby Phillip at night. They're better off with other people from YouTube and political commentators in this space, than me, because I'm constantly calling it like it is relative to Jake Tapper. The MSNBC, until they fire this clown, I'll try to keep it a little bit decent here. As soon as they fire this guy, maybe I'll get a little bit of an invite. But until then, you know what? I'm happy here. I'm happy here with you. I appreciate your participation. Let's talk about this in the comments. If somebody is a booker on MSNBC, I'll certainly come on. But I'm always going to be this guy. So buyer beware.
He and a social media team, they are busy trying to mock President Trump. He's actually referred to our own TOMI LAHREN's account as Yelp for toilets. Gee, very clever and funny.
Gavin Newsom. I'm kind of enjoying talking about Gavin Newsom. For as much shit as I've talked about the governor of California over the years, even while I was a constituent of his when I lived in Orange County, California, it's kind of nice to mix it up and change it up and be a fan instead of someone who's criticizing him. The people who are still criticizing him and whining and crying, I mean, it is crocodile tear session over in Fox News night after night after night since Gavin Newsom rolled out his Gavin Newsom press office Twitter account that really is just mimicking a mirror image of how Donald Trump comports himself on social media. And I'm going to start here with Sean Hannity, who is just absolutely beside himself with grief. It is cope and seethe on Sean Hannity's Fox News propaganda hour. And here he is complaining about what's taking place and then takes up for Tomi Lahren in a weird, rare moment.
Now, currently, he and his social media team, they are busy trying to mock President Trump on X by posting messages in all caps. He's trying to pretend to be Donald Trump. Gavin is also attacking Fox News hosts. He's trying to bait conservatives into social media fights. He's actually referred to our own Tomi Lahren's account as Yelp for toilets. Gee, very clever and funny. She'll join us in a moment to respond.
Yelp for toilets. Now, it's a beautiful 3 words. It's so great because it really encapsulates so much imagery. It conjures images in your head. Yelp for toilets. But here's what they're talking about. I'm going to read you a couple tweets. This is from Tomi Lahren, to which Gavin Newsom's press office replied. She says, the saddest thing about this, Gavin and his team of beta males who sit down to pee actually think they're trolling the president and actually think this is making Gavin look like a badass. You got a feel for those California boys. You got to feel. Oh, you have to feel. You got to feel. You got to feel for those California boys. I don't know if it's the weed or the gender neutral bathrooms, but something is wrong over there. All this obsession with bathrooms and all this obsession with who's a beta and who's an alpha. Tomi herself acts like this giant patriot, but she's just another patriot who never served in the military. She's just another patriot who talks the talk, but doesn't actually walk the fucking walk. And look, many of you, if you've been around for a long time, you know that this is not how I started on YouTube. I started really having no interest. I started a podcast over 10 years ago with Brittany Page called I Doubt It. And as soon as Donald Trump came on the scene, or just before Donald Trump came on the scene, we had the alt-right Barbie, the Nazi Barbie, Toilet Tammy over here. And she started attacking Colin Kaepernick, shaming him for being a black man who was adopted by white, just KKK nonsense coming out of Tomi Lahren. And I felt the need to get on YouTube and make some response videos. And then here we are. So, I owe a lot to Tomi Lahren. Tomi Lahren, who you got a feel for the California boys, her obsession with who sits down or stands up to pee. I do both. It depends on how tired I am, Tammy. Does that make me not a man? Did I have to hand in my United States Marine Corps membership card because I've sat down to pee? You fucking obsessed weirdo. Anyway, Gavin Newsom's press office responded with this. Tomi's account is basically Yelp for toilets now, which is funny. It's not the only time she's been owned in the last week. Actually, this clip just came across my Twitter feed when I was looking for things to talk about, and it happened to dovetail right into this whine fest, this snivel mode that Republicans are now in about a Democrat who's actually getting some shit done. And it's a Democrat named Mike Nellis. I'm not really familiar with him, but he's got a pretty decent following on Twitter, so I'm assuming he's some kind of a known quantity. Explain to me who he is in the comments if I need to be educated. But Mike Nellis was a guest on her podcast, Outkicked or whatever it is. And in this moment, the guest on her own show schools her so hard, leaves her literally speechless. It's just... It's the personification of an ellipsis. Just ... Pretty great. This is about Donald Trump's budget. This is about the thing that Republicans are hyper-focused on, the police and funding the police. And Mike Nellis here is explaining that Donald Trump is actually the one who didn't talk about defunding the police. He actually did it with his one big beautiful bill. He is he's taking money out of budgets across the country for police. He's making it more difficult for police to do their jobs, all while messaging that we love the police. You know, the same way they loved the police until they were literally beating them with American flags and Trump flags on the plaza of the United States Capitol during the insurrection in Donald Trump's name, to try to get him to remain in power after having lost spectacularly to Joe Biden in 2020 by 7+ million votes. Here is that beautiful moment. Why am I doing the Donald Trump? It's a beautiful thing. Here's Tomi LAHREN getting schooled by Mike Nellis.
A month and a half ago, he signed the Republican budget into law, and they cut billions of dollars in funding for police, billions of dollars. So if it was a problem then, like there's going to be fewer cops on the street across the United States because of the Republican budget. Donald Trump didn't care then. So if he actually cares, and it's not just an attempt to distract from Epstein or the economy or God knows what else, then he should be consistent on that, and he should try to get that money back.
I thought it was the left that wanted to defund the police, but maybe I'm just mistaken.
Well, there are people on the left who wanted to defund the police, but Donald Trump actually defunded the police.
Oh, you think so? You think?
Well, did he sign the Republican budget?
Yeah, having a budget is different than wanting to defund the police because you say that they're
Well, no, the budget is what funds the police. So if you sign a budget that cuts police funding, then you're defunding the police.
You think so?
You
think so? So you think
as someone who manages a household budget, if I cut
a
my budget on something, I have less money to do it.
Yeah.
Then I have defunded that thing.
Yeah. Well, we have to all work within a budget, but I think you'd be hard pressed to say that President Trump wants to defund the police. Again,
President Trump did defund the police.
Okay.
Billions of dollars are gone for community policing. There'll be fewer cops on the street because of it. Okay. That's an objective fact.
There's a whole bunch of different elements to this that I'm really not even going to have time to get into, but it is the phrasing of defund the police doesn't mean do away with police. It means divert monies from one thing to another that maybe police don't do so well. That when you have someone who's having a mental health crisis, don't send armed agents of the state who don't know how to deal with that. You send people who are trained, who are experts in psychology, in crisis, in homelessness, in mental illness, in whatever other area, so you can free police up to go solve the crimes that they're currently not solving anyway. That's what it means. That's just an aside. But we need more communicators like Mike Nellis, whoever this guy is. Good job, Mike. Good job. Good job getting an invite on Tomi LAHREN's podcast. I'm not going to get an invite. She canceled a meet and greet one time at Politicon because I was in line to have a word with her. And that was early on. Anyway, very funny. Love Republicans being apoplectic. Love that they can't get beside themselves about the fact that their rules and their behaviors are now being turned onto them. It's the whole I'm rubber, you're glue. They just can't handle it. Wait, you're doing what I do? Oh my God, I hate it. What do we do? It's wonderful. Anyway, Toilet Tammy, good job. Fantastic. Keep inviting them guests. You're doing great over there at whatever you're doing. Nice soft filter too. Fantastic. Anyway, what do you think? I appreciate you. I want to hear from you. You can comment below the video wherever you're watching it. You can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please go follow the new Facebook page, Dollemore Daily on Facebook. You can engage with this content natively on Facebook and help grow this channel, help spread and amplify this message into the midterms. I believe it is important. Follow me on social media. If you're around on the social media, I am at Dollemore just about everywhere. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.